Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of Seniors Views webinar. Tonight we have a special presentation devoted to arts and culture in Windsor and Essex County. And we're going to try something a little different tonight. We have two guests. We have two visual artists, Lana Talbot and photographer Spike Bell. Lana was born in Windsor. She attended Victoria School, now Queen Victoria School, and they haven't renamed it after either one of us. I went there too. She went to Patterson Collegiate and then studied at Sinclair College. She says she knew she was able to draw when she was 5 years old, and she has worked as an artist for decades and continues to contribute to her profession by teaching and inspiring young artists. Lana, welcome to our seminar tonight.
Well, thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you and see you after numerous phone calls setting this up. You're a busy person.
I am busy.
So
busy and tired.
yes, but not too tired to talk to us tonight, I'm sure. What made you believe you could draw? Were you really 5 years old?
I was really 5 years old when my kindergarten teacher took me around with my sister and showed everybody how I could color inside the lines. And I just made a bunch of, today they would call it that art that I'm not really familiar with, abstract. Not one of my favorites, but it is for those who choose that route. But it was just a bunch of circles and different things, but I was able to color different colors within the line. And they thought that was terrific. Now today, my 6-year-old great-grandson, he does the same. He draws pictures of people.
He does?
He does. He's going to be an artist, just like his great-grandma.
So it runs in the family, does it? How about your mom and grandmother? Were they artists as well? No? Started with you.
Started with me.
Okay. Now who, you also studied at Sinclair College. Was any of that connected to your arts background?
I was doing interior design. And what I really liked was the architecture more than anything. One of the professors said that I should be in Montreal 6 months a year and the other 6 months living here because I like to draw and I was pretty good with the measurements.
Right. What was the significance of Montreal?
I don't know. Maybe that's where he came from.
Probably some futuristic stuff. They've got some pretty wild looking buildings there. But you went into painting instead. When did you believe you could become an artist?
Well, like an artist, how do you call yourself? And I think a lot of people are artists in their own respect. But I like to paint. I draw as well, but I really like painting. And what I like to paint is my history. The Underground Railroad, I paint portraits. I love painting people's faces because there's so much character within that face and it tells a story.
Is that some of your work behind you there?
Oh, it is, but not one portrait. Well, I do have one, and it's Harriet Tubman, one of the paintings, and I don't think you can see it, right? There
we go. Yeah.
There you go. But this is my heritage, and I love my heritage. And
talk to me about that. Tell me about that.
I love it.
How does that inspire you?
Put it this way, my great-grandmother was born in 1856, And she passed away in 1959. As a matter of fact, November the 4th, 1959, at the age of 103.
Wow.
And yeah, and she would tell
3
us
more days be the anniversary.
it will be. And she outlived all of her children but my grandfather. But she was a great inspiration to me because my brother came so close behind me that my mother didn't have time for 2 babies. So I was attached to my great grandmother, Mary Jenkins. I was attached to her hip. And she would sit us all of us kids on the floor and tell us stories about the South, how they escaped and how they came to Canada. She'd always say she was born during slavery, but she was never enslaved. So her maiden name would have been Montgomery, and her father is buried in Maple Leaf Cemetery in Chatham, Ontario.
Right, which was another terminus of the Underground Railroad.
Absolutely.
So you have all this, so this inspired you to put this in your artwork?
Yeah, I did. It does. It does. A picture's worth 1,000 words, and you have to believe that you can see something, and you could write. I could just start writing right on any one of those. You see the shoes behind me?
Yes.
I could write 1,000 words on that, on the shoes.
What's the significance of that painting?
Just just 2 pairs of old shoes that have been walked. They had a journey, and who knows where the journey was? Who knows what the journey saw? Where it took him? Just
Now,
shoes.
How did you get your start?
I don't know. I just started painting. Dennis Smith, my beloved sister Donna Ramsey. She said one day, Lana, let's join Dennis Smith's art class. And I said, I don't join no art class because I just didn't feel it. And she says, come on, let's go. We're going to do this. So 2 weeks after she joined and had me to join, she quit. She says, here, Lonnie, you can have all this. I don't want it. I'm not going back there. And I said, oh, Donna, what am I going to do? So I continued. And I said to Dennis one day, I said, Dennis, before I spoke with Dennis, I spoke with Marianne Scully.
At Mackenzie Hall.
At Mackenzie Hall. And I asked Mary Ellen, she come to Sandwich First Baptist Church one Sunday with Kim Elliott. And I said, she sang a beautiful Irish song. Oh, it was beautiful. She has a gorgeous voice. She really does. And I call her sister every once in a while when I see her. And so I asked her, I said, Mary Ellen, can we have an art exhibit for February? And I think this was like in November. And she says, well, call me tomorrow and we'll set up a meeting. So myself and Dennis and Kim and Mary Ellen, we all met. And she said, she allowed us. She said, yes, you can have an exhibit here. And so here's Dennis. He said, Lana, we don't have enough artists. I said, we got enough. And so I started naming them. And from that on, Dennis is an absolute artist in everything he does. He set the exhibit up. We had our booklet. We had our food. It was absolutely a beautiful exhibit. And it carried on until COVID came and just stopped us dead in our shoes. But we haven't stopped. We're going to be putting on an exhibit in February at the Windsor Art Gallery. And it's just going to be about ourselves, who we are, and what has motivated us to tell our story.
And what has motivated you?
What has motivated me? My history. The fact that it was never written in a textbook. nothing ever was positive when you read about the African. They were always savages in the jungle. And to know our history coming out of Africa, we were kings and queens when we were stolen and traded, even by some other African tribes. They stole us, and it's the truth, and that's the whole truth. And this is the thing about our history. Our history has never been told. The truth of our history has never been told. It always got lost, or hidden, or let's put it on the back shelf. And then when we did read books, like in public school, they were always negative, always negative books with negative connotations. And I remember in grade 4, Miss Morlock, she was our library teacher, and she tried to make us read Uncle Tom's Cabin. And the N-word appeared many times in it. And whenever the N-word appeared to you, it would always fall on one of the children of color to read that. And I'll always remember Lonnie Hanson saying, I don't know what that word is. And she said, yes, you do. No, I don't. What's that word? And then, of course, she knew what it was, but she always wanted us to. And, you know, that was a very embarrassing thing, because none of us were what they tried to call us. That word doesn't belong to any culture. It's just when we were coming up, it's low down, disgraceful, and lazy. And no one could ever call anybody coming out of a plantation lazy, because they worked from dawn to dusk, beaten and with so little food and so little water in the dead heat. So we're not lazy people.
No. I remember when Richard Pryor used to use that word in his stand-up comedy till he went to Africa. And then when he came back, he said, I'll never use that word again.
Absolutely.
Because there are no ends that I know.
Exactly. See, this is it's a negative. Anytime people can come up with a name for someone else of a different heritage, that's ignorance. It's pure ignorance. And people that don't know about other cultures, and they don't have the desire to learn about other cultures, it's just ignorance.
I remember and he is a good friend of mine, Danny Allen, when he was on city council. Mm-hmm. He was over for dinner one night with his wife, and he said, look at, like you were talking about how the story's never been told about Africa. And he says, have you got an atlas? And I said, yeah. And he says, look at how the United States is portrayed and how Africa is portrayed. Now, Africa is much bigger than the United States. Mm-hmm. But on American maps, on most maps, the United States looks bigger than Africa, when the opposite is true. Right. Just this subtle subliminal thing. And you also, in addition to painting, you belong to a group called the Artists of Color. Tell us about that.
Oh, the Artists of Color. That's where it started with Mary Ellen Scully. That's where it started. And Dennis, being the artist he is, him and I, we're co-conspirators, as I call it. But no, we both work together on doing things. We've had, I believe it's from 2008 is when we began. And we've had all our exhibits at Mackenzie Hall. And we even have gone into producing plays. We sing and we act, and we always do a portrayal of people of color, because there's so much that has never been told. And when you start looking at things, and just like the map, that they could make United States so much larger than Africa. They've done this to us all along. They've made us look like we're ignorant, that we don't know anything, that, you know, we have no culture, we have no heritage, we have nothing. And it's so the opposite. The inventors, if people ever started to read about the inventions, the stoplight, for one, darn it, Morgan, the stoplight, the gas mask, Lewis Howard Latimer, the filament in the light bulb, not Thomas Edison, the other Howard Latimer. He is the one that produced the filament that lights the light bulb. Then there have Elijah McCoy. Now,
the real
McCoy, no shucking around. Yeah. And I've had people come from the United States, because I do tours here at Sandwich, and I'll be glad when we'll be able to get back to doing the tours and the borders open up and people are safer and they're double vaccinated and all of that. And they're not worried about some kind of conspiracy theory that, you know, you don't need this and you don't need that. Anyways, I enjoy doing my tours, and this one person come and she said, this is where the phrase, the real McCoy, comes from, when they came from Williston Manor with the alcohol, right? Right. They'll say, oh, this is the real McCoy. No, and I told them it was the, what is that? I never can do it right, but.
It was a thing about the oil in locomotives.
Right.
He invented the
lubricating cup. That's what
lubricating cup. I knew it was a cup, but yes. Yeah, I got that explained to me at the museum in Amherstburg a long time ago. Mm-hmm. But that was an exhibit, the real McCoy.
The real McCoy. And so when somebody came here, when I was telling, Dennis has a beautiful mural that he has painted, and he leaves it here in the church. And
explain what church you're at right now.
I'm at Sandwich First Baptist Church, home of the Underground Railroad. We are trying to get a museum. Hopefully by next year we will have enough funding and we will start our museum. That's a church, 3652 Peter Street. And but the painting that Dennis has a picture of a painting of Elijah McCoy and the lubricating cup. And people would say, oh no, that's not the real McCoy. The real McCoy is the liquor, because they used to take the liquor back and forth across the Detroit River during Prohibition. Right. And they would say, oh no, that wasn't the real. I said, oh no. I said, trust me, this is the real McCoy, the lubricating cup. He had over 260 inventions, all patented. Matt Slinger, the man that made the lathe that put the top of the shoe to the sole of the shoe. I mean, I can go on and on and on.
I got one for you. Carter's pills, my father's favorite.
Carter's little liver pills?
Little liver pills, yep. That my dad couldn't live without those. Let me ask you, besides your success in art, you also feel you need to pay back to the community. So tell us about how you teach young artists.
Okay, here at the church, and it's to see children grow. And we don't care what the color they are, or we don't care if they are differently abled. We don't care any of that. We bring them in, we love them, we feed them, and I teach them art. Not only do I teach them art, I teach the major stories of the Bible as well. And we paint them. We had them paint the creation, had them paint the Ten Commandments. And we were just starting to do The Lord is My Shepherd, the 23rd song, and COVID hit. And we haven't had the kids back. Well, I had them back, a few of them, not as many. We started with about 4. We ended up with about 25 kids.
And it keeps growing, I guess.
I hope when we open up that it grows even more.
Well, let's hope that after this that somebody's family sees something on this and will say, hey, you got to hook up with Lana to take lessons. But it hasn't been an easy road for you, has it? It's been like it hasn't been all smooth. You became an artist and everything was fine, la-di-da, la-di-da. You've had some tough times, even with your art.
Tough times? I remember I worked at Key Tours. Good place to work because you could do nice travel. And when they sold it, oh boy, did they leave us empty-handed. And that was hard. It was I can say this, from when I was 58 to 65, it was hard, more than hard. But I know who carried me, and I know this. I mean, I can stand up today and say, praise the Lord, because God, I know where he has brought me from.
Yeah, you're a very spiritual person, are you not?
I hope I am. I hope I make it in. I sure don't want to be left behind.
Yeah, you and me both. But what does it take to become a successful artist in your mind?
I don't know, because I don't know how successful I am. I don't live by my art. I live by helping people. I cook. I love to cook. I cooked at the Amherstburg Food and Fellowship Mission. I'm part of the Board of Directors at the Amherstburg Food and Fellowship Mission, which says people helping people. And when I saw that, it just drew me in. And there's a young man, Tim McAllister, who is superb when it comes to helping people. And I have watched him down through the years help people. And that's how I feel. I'm a servant. I am a servant to whoever needs help.
When I started this program, I said, we're talking about arts and culture. You're helping to preserve one of the biggest cultures in our area, which is the Black culture. What do you see as how important it is to this area to have people know about these things?
How important, it's never been told. So it's going to be brand new to people. People need to see people of color. I go into a building, and one of the first things I do is I look at the founders down through the years, and I don't see me. I don't see anyone that looks like me. I don't see anybody with my color. I would go in the bank, not so much now, but 25, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, you didn't see us. We were invisible. And it felt the same way when we were children in school. You could put your hand up and never get recognized. I won't say I was the best student, because I was not. I was not. I'm telling the truth. I skipped school. I did everything because I didn't like the way people treated. Didn't like the way my grade 10 teacher failed me. He told me, he said, you didn't fail. I failed you because I didn't like the chip on your shoulder. So I told him, look now, there's a log. That's how I felt. I'm just a person that believes that where God sets you, where God puts you, that's where you're going to be. Like, I can think of the people I have met, the places I've been. I was in a march in 1963 with Martin Luther King in Washington, D.C. I was there. My mother told me she would let me go as long as I didn't go to the march. Okay, I'm not going to the march.
Right.
I ran to the march.
Well, that leads me to my next question. Because of your activism within the community, your art, your preservation of culture, name some of the people you've come in contact with over the years.
Well, Rosa Parks, for sure.
How'd you meet her?
How did I meet her? Brian Walls, Dr. Brian Walls from Puce. He said, Lana, I want you to come with me. I want you to meet a very important lady. He never told me who I was going to meet. And when we got over there, because he was, I believe that was when he was starting to write his book.
The Road That Led to Somewhere.
Mm-hmm. And I met Rosa Parks. I just couldn't believe it. Like, it just makes you feel like, what? Rosa Parks? Such a good woman like this. Elaine Steele, who was her confidant. As a matter of fact, how God puts things together and people together, it's amazing. So I met her. I met Emmett Till's mother, Mamie Till Mobley. She came along one year, the next year with Rosa Parks.
Explain who Emmett Till was. Now, Rosa Parks is known as the mother of the civil rights movement.
Right.
But Emmett Till, explain who he was.
Emmett Till was a 14-year-old youth that went from Chicago to Mississippi to spend the summer with his grandparents, his grandfather. And he's specifically known for the so-called wolf whistle to this white woman that owned a store. And she told her husband, and they went into that boy's grandfather's house, took him out, murdered him. I can't tell you all the horrible things that was done to that young boy. He was 14 years old. And they put him in the Mississippi or the Tallahatchie River. And they thought he was never going to be found. And he had asked his mother, his father had passed when he was just a child. And he asked his mother, could he have his dad's watch? And that's when he was found. That's the only thing that they could identify him with, was he had his father's watch.
And you met
his mother.
His mother.
His mother. Right here at Sandwich First Baptist Church. So much happens here at Sandwich First Baptist Church. Our headstone says August the 1st, 1851. And when Canada had decided this year to say that we now have Emancipation Day, August 1st is now officially Emancipation Day. Not that it's a holiday yet, but hopefully it will be. Our cornerstone says August the 1st, 1851, when the edifice was built. So everything is just in divine order.
So what inspires you, like, to do all this, and to your art, your activism, your teaching? What inspires you?
I don't know, just the Lord, I guess. I tell people I have a million ideas in my head. and
that makes you dangerous, you know that.
No, it makes me crazy. It makes me say I can do it. You know, the one thing, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. And that's what it's about, strength.
Right. How, first of all, what advice would you give young people who would like to follow the kind of life you've had? You know, well, let's keep it specific to art and culture. What advice would you give, or what advice do you give young people? You're already teaching them.
Well, I always say this, you have a mind. God has given each person a measure of faith. Anytime you have an idea, doesn't have to be perfect. And whatever, have no fear that someone's going to laugh at you or make fun of you and say, isn't that stupid? There's nothing stupid about ideas. If you have something in your heart that you want to explore, go find someone that you can talk to. I think right now there's so many young Black or African Canadian kids. We have them from all over. We have them from their first and second generations from Africa, first and second generations from the Caribbean. They are now Canadians. They're very, very intelligent young people. They're all going to school. They're getting an education so that they can go out and get some of these JOBSs, jobs that pay, not minimum, but the proper pay for the jobs that they're doing. And I would like to give one shout out to the Our Day Study Club, which is 87 years in existence. And yeah, I'm part of that too. And I just want to say what they've done. It's all about study. Dr. Phil Alexander, he always tells his story about how they gave him $50 and he finished his education. I mean, this is an amazing feat.
He was a great man. Is still a professor, engineering professor. And he's been to my house too. My wife got involved with him and his wife during when she ran the Multicultural Council. Mm-hmm. And so they were old friends of ours. This is a time devoted to seniors, so I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, what advice would you give seniors that want to get into the arts?
Well, just start painting. Pick up a brush. Go buy you some. If you think that you're not good, I get the paint from the dollar store. Get canvases from the dollar store. If you want to get a little more excited, go to Michael's and just pick up. All you have to do is pick up a brush, get everything that you need. Ask them. You need paint brushes. You need something to put your paint on. Sometimes you just use one of those styrofoam plates, and you just start. And the easiest thing to me to paint is the sky and the water. And then you just, all of a sudden, you're going to start painting the trees.
How about lessons? Should people, is it ever too late to start taking lessons?
Never. It's never too late for anything. Listen, anybody want to come, especially seniors, if they want to come on a Friday evening or Friday afternoon, all they have to do is call and let me know.
And where are you again? So we give you a proper plug.
Okay. What to stop? I'm at 3652 Peter Street. And the telephone number here is 252-4917.
Okay, because that's going to be on, we'll upload this. This is live now, but in a few minutes after we talk to Spike Bell, we're going to upload this. So this will be online for people they can replay this and write down the number. Mm-hmm. So I guess the last question I'd have for you is, what's on the horizon for you? What projects are you working on?
Ooh.
That you can talk about?
I told you that museum, number one is the museum. Number one, the museum.
Is that right? And you've done a video with Mayor Drew Dilkens already, so people can look that up online.
Absolutely.
If you Google that and see you had quite a lengthy video at the church with Drew. So.
Listen. He's okay with me. Because they said, first off, they said it's only going to be 10 or 15 minutes because it's just a minute with the mayor. I said, that's okay. And you know how long he stayed? He stayed almost an hour and a half.
Really?
And really, and he said, this is the first time I've ever been here. And as a matter of fact, he went to school, I believe, with one of our parishioners' sons. And I would say, John never told you about this? He said, no. But, you know, this world is, if we don't, it's going to implode if we don't start loving each other and doing what's right by each other. Take that hatred, and hatred is a horrible thing.
Well, I'm glad that, you know, they always say if you convince one person at a time, I'm glad that you're convincing a lot of people one at a time.
Well, I used to never, but I surely have changed because I know what it is. I know what it is to be treated badly. I know what it is. I know what it is to be mistaken for something that you did that you didn't do and blamed. And no matter how you try to convince them that it wasn't you, they still don't listen. And if people would tell the truth, because that's the only thing that's going to set you free is the truth, not lies, the truth.
Okay, well, we're out of time. Lana, it went by too quickly, but I really appreciate you coming on. I know that you had to take time out from your busy schedule. People say that all the time, but I know you've got a busy schedule. So I appreciate it. I thank you for being on with me. And maybe if we're lucky and this series gets extended next year, we can continue this conversation, because I'm sure you're going to have 1,000 new things to talk about next time I talk to you. So I really appreciate it, and thanks for being with us. And that's all I got to say. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Rob, and give my regards to your brother.
Yes, my brother Glenn went to school with you.
Yeah, and I appreciate you taking the time to ask the questions and not be afraid to tell the truth.
Well, thank you very much. That's a beautiful compliment. I appreciate that. For the people out there watching this, please stay tuned, because we're going to switch over to our second guest. Spike Bell, another visual artist, but in a different genre of photography. So thank you, Lana, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Our second guest tonight is Spike Bell. I'd like to say he needs no introduction, but there might be some people who are younger than the rest of us who
bring that
up. But our second guest tonight is Spike Bell. Spike Bell was born 88 years ago in Regina, Saskatchewan. He lived in Regina and Saskatoon. His photographic career began 50 years ago when he was in the Canadian Navy. Since then, he has worked in the newspaper business in Vancouver and Detroit. Then after opening his own photography business, he has photographed many of the major newsmakers of the 20th century, prime ministers, presidents, the Beatles, Martin Luther King, and who Lana was just talking about, Rosa Parks. In fact, they both met Rosa Parks on the same day. He's published 3 books of his best photos. He holds a Master of Photographic Arts degree and has 7 images in the National Archives in Ottawa. And he's a lifetime member of the Professional Photographers of America. Spike, welcome to our show tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, I made it through that. That's only half your biography. If I read your whole biography, we'd be saying thanks for being with us tonight, Spike.
We'll be on till midnight.
Okay, to start out with, you were born in Regina.
Yeah.
You lived in Saskatoon. What kind of childhood did you have in the prairies?
I really, it was a rough one. I don't want to really go into that right now. Both my, I was adopted. Both my step parents are passed on, but it's a part of my life I tried to wipe. So
Yeah, we won't go into that. It's just that it's something, I know where you were born, but I didn't know anything else about you. Your bio says you joined the Navy during the Korean War. When was that? In the 50s?
oh God, that was back. Now I got to rack my brain. 50 or 51? I think it was 51. I'd have to. I got the ID card. I have to bring it out. I think it
How
was
old were
51.
you?
I don't know. Probably 17,
Yeah. And
16.
they let you in at 17?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to wrap my head around, that's where you got into photography.
Got into
Did,
photography. It was a great training. They had the best. I'll show you. I got some of my equipment I have right here that I use, and it was just. I don't know if they do that today or not. I don't know. It's all digital, but I started off in film. It was all film, and all the photographers around, the old farts like me, it was film, and some of the most amazing pictures were done on film. Really.
uh, was any of that photography, was that during the war or
No,
after the war?
all it went on. The Korean or the Second World War was all Graflex Corporation made over 300,000 cameras, and they made a deal with the U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and the Canadian Forces, the British Forces, that when the war was over, these cameras would be destroyed. Well, that didn't happen all the way because a few cameras, I had a military camera for the longest time, and where they are now is probably in a museum. That's where most of them are, and there were some of the most amazing pictures were done. In fact, there's one monument in Washington, D.C., the flag raising on Iwo Jima by the Marines and taken by Joe Rosenthal. And it was a 4x5 image negative that created that. And you had guys like, or people like a woman, excuse me, Margaret Burke White, Joe Rosenthal, oh my God. Ansel Adams used 4x5 film. So this is where it all started, heavy during the war, after the war. And anybody goes online to get um, Ansel Adams will see these images that are just gorgeous all around Yosemite, Yellowstone in that area. And sadly, he's no longer with us. But some of the images were just beautiful, absolutely beautiful, all shot on film. Today, it's digital.
Yeah, we will get into that, but first we're going to take this one step at a time because you've had a long career and there's a lot to talk about. Uh, so, what else did you in the Navy? What did they use you for as a photographer?
You covered events from ceremonies, promotions, uh, anything you could name it, and it was all recorded. They wanted it on film. It still is today. Um, they broadened that. They're out covering events away from the Navy, which is good. They're doing it all in digital. My daughter just came back from Germany with the Governor General, and there was two military photographers that went with her and recorded the ceremony, which is all pomp and dinners and all that kind of stuff. And I understand the new Governor General is a pretty neat lady, but they cover a lot of that stuff more so today than they've ever done. New ships, new commands, and they're taking. We're all covered. They're in the archives somewhere, in Ottawa. It's big events that were covered, and that's important. They got it on film, and they got stills, and just amazing. You can go on. We could talk from now to midnight, which I don't think you want to do, but amazing stuff.
Now, you mentioned your daughter, that's Patricia Bell. For people who have listened to CBC radio over the years, she's a former colleague of mine.
Yep.
Who worked up in Iqaluit for years and years.
15 years.
And now she's working for Mary Simon, the new governor general, because they knew each other from Iqaluit.
Yeah, amazing. I just loves her. Said she's a brilliant person to be with, and you'll see her at the ceremonies for 9/11 or 9/11, November 11th. Sorry, and Patty's right now has worked it from home because of the virus, but they got her busy. They had a wonderful time in Germany. Angela Merkel and all the important people, and she was over there for 4 or 5 days and a little worn out because they worked them to death. But that's normal. We're used to that stuff.
Now you got out of the Navy and you went into newspapers, starting with, what was it, the Vancouver Sun?
Well, I did work with the Victoria Daily Colonist, the Victoria Times, and I went over with the Vancouver Sun, and then from there I came out here. So,
and then to the Detroit Free Press.
Yeah, we did a lot of work with Tony Spina and Neil Shine, all the people that are long gone, but just beautiful people, and you learned a lot from them. I learned a lot. I got an offer to go with the Chicago Sun-Times right when the Democratic Convention was on. They had the big riot, and I couldn't go as a staff photographer because I was doing a wedding of all things. And I'll forget the photo editor saying, well, that's too bad. I probably would have had my head beat in because it got pretty violent for that.
That was the '68 Democratic Convention in Chicago.
I think it was. It was pretty rough, but anyway, you just go on and on and on. But in Detroit, you had amazing people to work with. You had, it was all on film. You had John Kennedy starting off for the presidency. Just went on from there. Richard Nixon, all of them. I was very lucky. Very, very lucky. Dwight Eisenhower, who I met, shook hands with. He was another one. Richard Nixon.
They all came from Detroit at the time.
At the time. Today, you probably couldn't get it within a mile of these people because of security. But boy, back then, it was pretty easy, and nobody had threatened to shoot a president or a prime minister. But it was, I found it very interesting. I was very lucky to be there at the right time. It's just amazing, just absolutely amazing.
And you have published some of these pictures, I take it?
I got it right here. Here's the book. If you can see that, there's the book. We were in Costco for 2 or 3 signings, and there's a lot of pictures in here. All the prime ministers and presidents are all in here. Here's I worked with him, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, and it was just amazing. He was an amazing guy, but it was a moment you never forget it. You remember the time Dwight Eisenhower coming through there, and you look at him and you say, there's the guy that led all the Allied forces against the Germans, and Supreme Allied Commander. Boy, you often wonder, why didn't he go out to his farm in Kansas instead of running for president? But that was his choice.
Yes. And you could get close to these guys, like with John F. Kennedy.
Oh, I got his autograph.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I got it out in my little, oh yeah, Gordie Howe, and oh yeah, just all of them. It's there. Kennedy, I got his autograph. I said, Mr. President, can I have your autograph? And he just, that was it. But Richard Nixon, I got his. And
was that when he was president, or when did you get?
Then he became president, and the security wasn't as tight. It was there, but it wasn't as tight as it is today. It just, ever since Kennedy's assassination, that changed the whole picture.
Now, when you got close to these people, were you a newspaper photographer then, or were you freelancing?
Oh, I was a newspaper photographer, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it was meeting all these people. God, it was just Joe Louis, Richard Nixon, Mike Kennedy, Eisenhower.
You mentioned Gordie Howe. Did you do sports photography as well?
No, I did very little of that, but I met him at different functions. He was over here. He was in Windsor a lot, all the different arenas. Good guy, real good guy.
Yes. Hockey players, I found when I was a reporter, I found hockey players were the easiest people to talk to, no matter how high they were. Gordie Howe, Wayne Gretzky, all Ted the Montreal Lindsay. Stars. Ted Lindsay, yes.
He was a hell of a hockey player, but boy, what a gentleman.
Yeah, those guys, for some reason, even Steve Yzerman, when he was still playing with the Wings, I found him to be very, humble is the word. He was really easy to talk to, and he knew you were Canadian. He knew you represented, in my case, I was doing it for the CBC, so they respected the CBC.
What a guy.
And you also, in your travels in 1964, Olympia Stadium, not for the Wings, but for the Beatles. Tell me about that.
Oh, God, that was just, I've got a picture of it right back here. I don't know if I can, I'll try to grab it and I'll bring it over.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, hello. Everything's falling apart here. Hold on.
Okay.
There's the, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's.
Just hold it little.
The band. Is that pretty good like that, or should I bring you?
If you just hold it flat, yeah, like that. That's good.
You can see them all four of them. There was only 3 photographers allowed in this area at Olympia. The noise was beyond belief. And they were saying that there was 2 photographers from the UK, and I happened to be there and got in, and God, it was just amazing. My posters got a lot of more pictures of the Beatles, and there's Paul McCartney, George Harrison, Ringo, and John Lennon. I had a chance to talk to John Lennon, and they were just getting started. They went on the Ed Sullivan Show in New York. From there, they were here in Detroit, the first of 2 shows, I believe. And then from here, they went to Toronto, Ottawa, and then I think out west, but they were just getting wound up, all these tours, and making a fistful of money. So it was a real start for them. I'll just set that down before it ends up.
Sure.
But boy, okay. What a group. And John Lennon was just a super, super nice guy to talk to. And they were getting used to all this, the bright lights and media after them. And I'm talking to him, and I never realized that afterwards, if I'd smartened off, there was a friend of mine he's in the travel business today, and he got their autographs. Well, I'm standing there with my fingers in my ears, and I think, why the hell didn't I do that? Why didn't I smarten up and, geez, can I get your autograph? I was right there talking to him. I didn't. He did. He scored. I didn't.
Well, in those days, that was called professionalism. Journalists weren't supposed to ask for autographs. Like when I used to cover the Tigers or the Pistons or the Red Wings or the Lions, there was an agreement on your press pass that you couldn't ask for autographs.
Yeah, God, I don't know where it is today, but it's certainly changed a lot. But
yeah, because people sell those things now.
I never did photograph. What was his name? The other one. The other singer, the top one.
Elvis?
Yeah, Elvis Presley. I never photographed him, never seen him, but I knew a friend of ours, Hal Sullivan, got to know him pretty good, and there's just a lot of, and the Rolling Stones, never even seen them. So it's, you luck out.
Yeah.
These are still hot today. It's, they're quite the crew, and people still go into Liverpool to see where they grew up and started, and even though they're broken up, they still have a great attraction, which you just love. You just love it.
Now, getting back at the old Cleary, you photographed Martin Luther King.
I did, and I'll see if I can find it in this book. God, what a gentleman he was. Just when he started to speak, you never forget it, because he had a great voice, powerful voice, but a great message. I'm going to see if I can find it here for you. Here's a picture I did of, I always liked that one of Dwight Eisenhower.
Right, move it over a little bit. There, yeah, right there.
Yeah, and he's looking right at me, and I said, General Eisenhower, and God, he was just, you just looked at him and you just admired him, because
that was in Detroit at the time?
At the old Coble Hall, yeah.
Wow.
James Haggerty was his press secretary, and boy, he was just, when you see Eisenhower, you paid a lot. So here's Robert Kennedy. I photographed him 3 weeks for the day he was shot. It was on a Wednesday, and 3 weeks later, he was shot in Los Angeles. So
1968. The same year Martin Luther King was shot.
Yeah, here's Martin Luther King with Mayor Michael Patrick.
Yes.
And they made a presentation to him at the Cleary. People were just floored in this town that Martin Luther King was at the Cleary.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that was the Freedom Award from the Freedom Festival.
The Jewish Christian Freedom Award, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Gee, what a...
And you mentioned, and also, I know you just dropped her on the floor, but Rosa Parks.
Oh, yeah.
Lana was talking about the day she met Rosa Parks. You also took her picture.
I sure
Tell us about that.
I was out in the Walls Museum, and
the Underground Railroad Museum.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it's in here. I guess I need to concentrate on you.
Yes.
Down there. There you go. Rosa Parks was the nicest, gentlest lady, and she had all these bodyguards around her. She had about 6 or 8 of them, all young kids in Detroit, and needed a job. And the woman who was handling Rosa Parks, there was a big controversy with her, because Rosa Parks got her health declined. But there was a hell behind them. Why did you bring all these bodyguards? You don't need them over here in Canada. She didn't. And said to Brian Walls after, I said, what the hell? You don't need all these bodyguards with Rosa Parks. You didn't. She was just a soft, gentle lady. She did a thing she was proud of. Sitting on that bus, amazing lady to talk to. And I got some nice pictures. I got the one, I guess.
You put it down on the floor there.
I got it right here.
Yeah, hold it, turn it a little bit towards the air. That's perfect. Right, yeah, hold that.
Her sitting at Brian Walls's museum.
At the cabin at the Underground Railroad Museum on Puce Road.
Yeah, still there as far as I know. She was just a sweetheart. God, I like that picture of her.
So who, and you've also, besides, you don't have to show us, but you've talked to every prime minister practically since Louis Saint Laurent, every Canadian prime minister.
Go on, my daughter better than I do. But oh yeah, Louis Saint Laurent, God, they're amazing. The one that was really, I often say, full of it, was John Diefenbaker. Oh my God, Big Bad John with Olive, his wife, and he just went on and on, whether it was right facts or not right facts or whatever. Incredible guy, and he came from Saskatchewan like I did, and he grew up in Prince Albert. There's a lot of stories of John Diefenbaker out there, and I won't get into them now, but you and I will have one of these pops one day, and I'll tell you the story on Diefenbaker. It's funnier than hell. Olive Diefenbaker kept a lid on him and looked after him. She was a great, they're both gone.
Yeah.
She's just funny. And Trudeau, there's another one, the dad, Margaret, and she was, I think, getting a little antsy because this was all new to her, being in the political arena. And she didn't really, I don't think she really enjoyed it, but hey, that's what happened.
No, we've had her in town since, like, her autobiography. She spoke for the Mental Health Association one time here, talking about, she suffered from depression back in those days.
She had a lot of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of hard following Pierre Trudeau around, that's for sure. Who, to your mind, you talked about a lot of people. Who was the most interesting person you think you talked to? Can you?
I found Richard Nixon was a very interesting man to talk to, especially in sports. Boy, he was right into it. Pat Nixon, she was bored with him. He'd get a little gabbing off, and she'd look around. She was totally bored, but she worked out. They're both gone now, but boy, Nixon was an interesting man to talk to. Trudeau, another one. He was, Gene Whalen was in that group. Oh my God. We became friends, and he was an amazing man. I'd like to have seen him as a prime minister. I think he wouldn't put up with the BS. He'd get right to the facts. So that's the way I found him. He was in his home on Front Road in Amherst, a few times, and Liz, his wife, was just a sweetheart. In fact, we were just with Susan, the daughter, one daughter. They had three daughters, and we had just a whole conversation the other night. I think she's in the courts now, but
yeah, she's a justice of the peace now.
Yeah, but just her dad, incredible man and dedicated. Oh my God, Gene Kretchen said at Whalen's funeral, he said, "There's only one thing about Gene Whalen, I couldn't get him to shut up."
Yeah, well, that was the joke between the two of them, that Jean was trying to teach Gene how to speak French, and and Gene was teaching Jung how to speak English, and that was his excuse.
Oh God, he was quite a guy, and he's in my book here, and just a lot of good memories with him. We were invited a few of his birthday parties right at the house, and that's gone now because since his death, they've sold the house. But geez, talk about memories. And he'd have a crowd that have a tent set up outside, great food, thoroughly enjoyed it. Always thoroughly enjoyed him. God, amazing people. I've been very lucky to meet.
Now, you've done a lot. I'd be remiss with, you're a war veteran. It's November 1st when we're taping this tonight, and November 11th's coming up. You've done a lot of shoots for the Essex and Kent Scottish. Tell us about that.
I came in when somebody in there that get it organized, and we had different commanding officers and different people that should be recorded, and we started to do that, and we did it for about 10 years. And then I am going to London, England with them, and Prince Michael of Kent, that's the Queen's cousin. They had a ceremony there at Canada House, and Prince Michael and Princess Michael showed up, and their 2 children, a daughter and son. And it just, Prince Michael is the commander-in-chief of the Essex Kent Scottish, and just an incredible man, and a lot of good memories there, a lot of good memories. So it was just, when he came over, I covered that, and you had to do your job, you did it, you know that. You had a job to do, and you did it. Simple as that. And I liked it. I really did. I'm out of it now. Let somebody else pick up the storm or the stick and go with it.
Let's talk about that. What advice do you give young people now about a career in photography?
I would say, if you're going to get into it, love it. Get in with both feet. But first of all, go online, study what camera that you like, Nikon, Canon, Sony, whatever you can afford, and you can go online and read up about these cameras. They're fantastic. And there's a lot of good info on the internet. And you need to study that. Look at other photographers. Bill Bishop from the Windsor Star, he was just here yesterday, and he just shot some incredible stuff. And we're going to get together, I think, for the breakfast here with him and I. And it'll be fun. And that's what you need to do. You need to understand what you're getting into, understand lighting, understand composition, and learn that. If you don't know it, ask. There's people out there that you can ask. I'll share any information you want on cameras, on lighting, on posing, whatever you want to shoot, whether it be weddings or just scenics. And boy, the Windsor Camera Club, for example, they've got some amazing shooters in there, and I'm just amazed. A lot of them are retirees, and they really enjoy it. They really get their feet wet. They get right into it. And they've been doing this for years. So Ted Douglas, he used to work for the Star, and then he went over to the Detroit News. As far as I know, he's still involved with them, but geez, he shot some beautiful stuff. So they're out there. All you got to do, ask.
So if people want to get a hold of you, they can Google you on Spike Bell Photography. You're online, right?
I'm on here, or MNSI. You can email me, spikeb@mnsi.net. And they can, I'll tell you, they can call you. I think that'd be a great idea if you could refer.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for that.
I think
How about seniors? Is it ever too late for seniors to start
that's what
photographing?
people go out and they read books. I love reading, and you can know you if this is what you want to do. You can do it lightweight. Go shoot some scenics in your backyard. If that's what you want to do, you can go into McLaren's lab, or you can go online and get the prints made. Whatever you want to do. There's all avenues all over the place. I can do that privately, suggest something. Costco closed up their photo lab, I think it was a year ago. I regret that because they did some amazing work. You do a good picture, they'll turn it out. Boy, they had some good people in there, real good people. And I had a lot of my prints done there. Price-wise, it was good.
And you've made the transition to digital cameras, have you not?
When I first had to go into digital, I fought it. I says, no bloody way. I'm going to stick with my film. Well, if I'd gone that route, I would have been, out in the cold for sure. Because the best thing, we went up to Alberta, Banff, and that gorgeous, gorgeous area, Moraine Lake, and oh my God, all through there. And I had just bought a Nikon D800. And I thought, oh my God, what do I take? Do I take my film camera? I was using a Hasselblad. Do I use that, or do I take this digital? I decided to go with the digital, and that's how I got into digital. By going all the way out there, and the weather was incredible. And I shot everything digital, a gorgeous scenery out there. I know what Ansel Adams felt like when he was doing those scenics in Yosemite and Yellowstone. But anyway, I took mine, and we came back, and I've got some prints 60 inches long. It was really good. It was an experience, but it was my break from film to digital. And this is what I use. Here's the first film camera that I ever had. My stepfather bought that for me when I went in the Navy. And I thought, I was a cat's ass. I had the camera, I thought, wow, it was a damn good start. But here's what, I'll show you the other part here. Hang on. There. Let them all out. Here's the old workhorse. That was what Bill Bishop used, Ansel Adams used, Margaret Burke White. God, it was just amazing. Joseph Karsh, I got to know Karsh quite well, and I got a few of his books, and I admire the man.
What kind of camera is that?
That's a Graflex camera. The Graflex, they've since gone bankrupt, and they built these. It's Moroccan leather, mahogany wood. That's all wood.
Wow.
And these were the workhorses. All the press drivers. I photographed Robert Kennedy with it, John Kennedy, and you always had to carry the old film, one shot that side. You can see the 4x5.
Yes.
They go. There's where your film went right in there, and you put it in the dark room naturally, and that's what you always carried, about 10 of these, and you were stingy as hell because you didn't want to, use all your film up. But this was the old Speed Graphic. The military used it. Boy, photographers all over the world. Joseph Costa. God, I could go on and on. But sadly, this company, they sort of lagged behind with your new development, new smaller cameras. That's what the guys wanted. And they sort of dragged their ass on it, and sadly they got left behind, and they ended up going out of business. So that, and these are the old flash bulbs that you just, boy, there's the old bulbs. You always make sure you had plenty of them.
Right.
We used to have fun with these things, stick them in a regular light socket. Really,
well, Spike, we're running out of time.
are we?
Yes.
You want me to talk till midnight?
Yeah. Well, we could probably, you and I could probably talk, but I don't think our viewers we're bleeding into Monday Night Football now. I think we might lose some viewers, but
where's this going anyway?
this is on Facebook Live right now, and after we finish, our technician Maya Bazaar will be uploading it to the Facebook page Seniors Views, and we'll be seeing it from now and forever, as long as the internet exists and Facebook. And so thank you for being with us tonight. I appreciate everything you've said. I've followed your career. I've known you. You mentioned Hal Sullivan. Since Hal Sullivan hired me at CBC Radio 40 years ago, and I've known you that long.
Yeah, what a guy.
And yeah, we both share a friendship, or shared a friendship with the late Hal Sullivan. But I want to thank you for being on tonight, for being patient with my questions. I hope you live another 88 years.
Oh, I like that part.
And publish 3 more books.
Oh,
can people still buy your books?
I think we've got a couple around the house, but we had 3 writings or signings at Costco. We did them at Chapters. We had them all over, and we went through 5,000 books, and I think I've got a few left, and that's it.
Oh, well, I know I've got one of them.
We met some of the most interesting people, if I say that right. I signed a book. You remember me with such and such? And it was just beautiful. You never forget it. You never forget all the beautiful people I met on Facebook, on Chapters, at Costco. Oh God, you name the store. What's the guy down on Ottawa Street there? The bookstore there. God, we did a lot of book sales there. Excuse me. But boy, talk about interesting people. My book's gone all over the world. Australia, Scotland, England, even Prince Michael's got a copy. So I feel very proud of it. Very proud that I could do it. I learned a lot from it, and it's wonderful.
You should be very proud, and your work, if there's anyone out there who hasn't seen your work, please look it up on the internet. Also, try to get a copy of one of your books, maybe in a used bookstore if you run out. But thank you for being with us tonight. It's been a great honor for me to have you.
You're a good friend. You're a very good friend.
Well, thank you, Spike, and I wish you luck. Wish you good luck, and thanks for being with us tonight.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. When I see my daughter, talk to my daughter in Ottawa, I will mention the famous Rob Miller.
Yeah.
Oh, I won't forget that. It's just.
Well, she's a wonderful person too. I've known her for at least 12 years when I worked with her at CBC.
She was good. They put her through an exam. She's now working for the Governor General, and they obviously like her. And she's got, she lives in Ottawa. She bought a house. She adopted an Inuit little girl, Abia Papaduk. Yes, I love her. And by the way, send me, if you're going live with this or a copy on Facebook, give me the connection and I'll send up the Patty. She'll critique you.
Oh, I know she will. Yes. Yeah. Well, she's forgotten more than I'll ever know. So
you've done wonderful. your name's around, believe me. But, you know, send me that link if you would do that. I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
But Patty, be glad that I talked to you, and I did not talk to you this past weekend, but I will pass this info on.
Please.
I will do that, I promise. And
okay, we're gonna wrap it up now, Spike. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And we'll talk soon.
I look forward to it. Thanks again, Rob. It's been a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.